attending school and not missing any instructional time. So we are ecstatic about the partnership that Cone Health has with your school system as well as with your community, because you know that our program is staffed by members of Burlington Nubbin Peds. And so local pediatricians are seeing the children in the school, and the behavioral specialist, the licensed clinical social worker who provides therapy, is also a member of the Burlington Nubbin Peds staff. So this is exciting. One of the fundamental things that occurred when these leaders from the pediatric program at Duke University approached about universal screening in a way that we can make a meaningful impact on students' lives, especially our high poverty students from minority populations who tend to have more disease states expressed early in life, and then they have more severe consequences later in life. So a child who is obese and develops hypertension as an elementary school student is likely to be that child who at 45 or 50 has stage 4 renal disease and requires dialysis, or is on multiple hypertensive drugs that affect their ability to enjoy their life. So if we can intervene at an early time, identifying students who need to develop healthy habits and help those students develop healthy habits, we can make a significant difference. First slide. There we go. So the starting point is really a universal screening of our 4th and 5th graders. And I relied heavily upon my pediatric partners as we looked at what was the appropriate way and what were the appropriate measurements. We've had close to a year of meetings that we discussed this, debated this, determined best practices and how we could affect students in the most positive way. This will be conducted in partnership with our school nurse and our telepresenter in the schools that we exist. So the students will be familiar with the people who are doing the BMI screening, as well as the teachers. It will be a minimally disruptive pattern in that we will screen one class at a time, and the students will come out, be screened, go back to class, another class, come out, be screened, go back to class, so that we'll have a minimum effect on instructional time. Because the reason why you let us into the school is I promised you by delivering care in the school that we would preserve instructional time. I want you to talk a little bit about, Sarah will talk a little bit about why we chose BMI and blood pressure.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And thanks also for inviting us here. Such a privilege and honor to be here with all of you all. I'm Sarah Armstrong. I'm a general pediatrician by training. So I'm the one that sees y'all's kids and talks about like no trampolines and safety in the pool and that kind of stuff. I also have had the privilege of seeing patients in our Healthy Lifestyles Clinic for the past 20 years. It feels like a long time. Been doing that. So this is a great opportunity to think about how can we get kids at this age. And some people, might say like, why 4th and 5th graders? That seems so early. The literature actually shows that obesity early in life predicts obesity later in life. So the sooner we can get to these kids. I mean, I'm treating middle schoolers with diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol. And I'll tell you, it is heartbreaking and hard for the families to see their kids following the pathway. And anything we can do early on will be great. And part of it is just picking them up, because I think a lot of times these kids just get missed in the shuffle of life. So 4th and 5th grade, I think, is a perfect time. Kids are developing their autonomy. They're ready to get into middle school where they're making some choices on their own, and we can give them a little bit of training and teaching to get them ready for that. So BMI gets a bad rap, and there are problems with it for sure. It's a screening tool. We certainly don't want to introduce any kind of stigma or shame for these children. I mean, believe me, I get the stories in tears when that clinic door closes and they tell me about the bullying and teasing, and it's a lot for them. So we want to be really, really mindful to make sure that as kids are getting screened, that we are accepting all children with all body shapes and sizes for all the wonderful things that they do. And a high BMI, I know if I put my science hat on, triggers me to think, could they have a high blood sugar? Or could their blood pressure be creeping up? It's like my trigger to say, what are the things I can't see about this child's health that I need to check to be safe, to make sure I'm taking care of that child? So BMI is a good place to start, just to tell me what the next thing is to do. Blood pressure is another easy thing that we can do it's non-invasive. And there are a lot of good studies that show that when you look at teenagers who end up getting hypertension, you look back and whoops, their blood pressure was high when they were younger and nobody caught it. So if we're doing BMI, we might as well check that blood pressure too and just see if there are ways we can get them connected with their doctor to get them treated or screened for that as well. So those two things are kind of low-hanging fruit, and I think if done very sensitively and carefully, can really identify issues that we could improve the child's long-term health trajectory. So.
And the technology and the training is already in the school, so our telepresenters already do blood pressure checks and do BMIs because we have to have it to dose medications. So when our providers see one of your children and we have to prescribe an antibiotic for a sinus infection, we have to know their weight because we have to adjust the dose appropriately for that. That's part of the art of the pediatric practice. Next slide. So once this screening happens, and I think, Sarah, you really created a very wonderful case for why we start with that. We do a follow-up to confirm. So we have a little rule in medicine that one blood pressure is one blood pressure. And so we like to have a second blood pressure at a different time so that we can confirm, hey, this is something we should pay attention to. So we repeat the blood pressure, and then we'll perform a series of tests. I think Sarah alluded to that, and I'm going to let her explain that in detail, why we're going to do follow-up tests when the screening has shown the BMI is elevated or the blood pressure is elevated.
Yeah, fair. So just to be clear, this second level is just for kids who screen positive in the first level by having that high BMI. So everything up there is part of the 2023 American Academy of Pediatrics Clinical Practice Guideline, which is what we follow as pediatricians. It just, like I said, was 2023. It's pretty new evidence. I think they reviewed 16,000 studies as part of that publication. So the things that are recommended to pediatricians if a child has a BMI that is over the 95th percentile. So I just want to pause there for a minute. 95th percentile means that if you have 100 boys that are 10 years old, that means the kids above the 95th, their BMI is higher than 95 out of those 100. So it's the top 5. We're talking about kids really at risk because they're like the tip of the iceberg. They're going to get this phase 2 screening. So that is going to include, as John said, if their blood pressure was high initially, we're going to recheck it. And hemoglobin A1C is a standard diabetes screening test. Many of you probably already know that, to check to make sure they don't have diabetes or even pre-diabetes. A lipid panel, that's your standard cholesterol, to make sure they have a healthy cholesterol. An ALT, or alanine aminotransferase, long word, that's a liver screen. So many might have heard of what we used to call fatty liver disease. I don't love that word, but that's what we used to call it. It's basically inflammation in the liver that happens when kids or people gain weight too quickly. Currently, it's the #1 cause of liver transplants in adults, which is crazy, so it's totally preventable. But we'll screen for that too. And then it is also recommended, and I think is best practice, that we just do a quick nutrition security assessment, because we can't expect to tell these families you have to feed your child healthier if they don't have the resources to go do that. It just feels kind of cruel to put that on families. So then we can connect them with, I know tons of existing resources that are here. So I think it's good practice to screen for that as well.
Emily, you had some concerns in our discussions about doing this in a very sensitive way. And so would you share with them some of the things that you brought up, that we've addressed, that we've talked about, doing this in a very sensitive way so that students do not feel like they've been identified as someone who is not part of the regular cohort of school?
Yes, absolutely. And I know this is the first time I'm talking, so I just wanted to reintroduce myself. I'm Emily D'Agostino. So I'm also based at Duke University. I'm an epidemiologist, so I study public health. I was a school teacher for 10 years in the New York City school system. So I truly believe that schools are just such an important part of our community. They're a central place to help promote our youth and make sure that they have the best lives that they can. And that's a huge part of why we partner with John and are hoping to partner with you. And so one of the things that we talked extensively about over this year of meetings was making sure that of those youth that are in that top 5%, how do we make sure that they feel comfortable? They don't feel that they're sort of pinpointed or isolated, et cetera. So we spent a lot of time thinking creatively about how do we do something that's, again, convenient, not disruptive, but also won't increase potential for stigma. And so we have this incredible partnership with Mission Mobile Medical. You may know of them because they're based in Greensboro. They build and deploy mobile health units, and they also have strong connections with many community partners, including Cone Health. They have a long-standing relationship with Cone Health. And so we brainstormed and thought about partnering together with them to bring one of the mobile units to the schools so that based on an appointment, so again, this is specific to the child, the individual child, they wouldn't be part of a group, would have an appointment that is convenient with the parents. They would go on site to the mobile unit that is already parked outside of the school. They would have this sort of second level of screenings and tests, and they would also then be escorted back. And so the idea is that this wouldn't be a group of students. There wouldn't be something sort of unique about the group that is shuffled to a mobile unit, but it is in the privacy of a mobile unit. So we really wanted to make sure that we were minimizing potential for stigma. I also want to defer to Sarah because she works so extensively with youth with obesity, and so she can also expand on any sort of elements of trying to reduce stigma.
Yeah, I'm smiling because since the pandemic and we got so much telehealth now that we do that we never did before, I do so many visits in school parking lots. And they do it, I think, because they don't want their child in the school, and so they drive in and the child comes out and they're sitting, with a little snack or whatever, and then they're running back in to get their math test. It's so common for me now. So I actually, when they proposed this idea of the mobile van, I was like, oh, that's kind of what I'm doing anyway, except that there's actually a physical person to do some testing. So I think it's a really good way to do this. I have seen lots of school-based programs with BMI over the years. I actually wrote a position piece on this for pediatrics a few years ago, that if we do anything BMI related in the schools, we have to not make it such that kids are comparing themselves to each other. I just really feel strongly about that. There was I think it was Arkansas, for a couple of years put it on the report card as a BMI, and I mean, you can just imagine the kids on the school bus on the way home, what'd you get, and like the names they call each other. It's not okay. So we really just, as I said in the beginning, it really is important to me for the kids that this is an individual screening. Their parent gets the information, their doctor gets the information, but the peers, they don't need that information. And this is kind of a nice way for the phase 2 because it's almost like you're just going to a doctor's appointment. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're doing something in the school that everyone has to know about. So I actually think this is a really sensitive way to go about it.
I do, and we've also talked about perhaps even giving a little prize. So when the student comes and they have the appointment in the bus, that they get a little prize. So there might be a little jealousy that they got the screening and someone didn't. So this occurs at the school, and we identify a certain cohort of these students who have high blood pressure, who have weight-related problems that we need to address. And the next slide talks about phase 3 of our process. So we're looking at this as kind of a health fair. We're mitigating this, the private bus that we just talked about, the participation prizes, and next slide. There we go. And then all of this data will be shared with primary care. So luckily in our county, we have a great pediatric practice that we're already affiliated with, Burlington Bethlehem Peds. Had a conversation with Dr. Bolston. She's excited about this information going to her pediatricians. We have a Duke University pediatric practice here in town, and we have Piedmont, which is an FQHC. So 2 things will happen here. Number one is if they have a primary care doctor, we will get this information to their primary care doctor, along with guidelines provided by our pediatric leaders as to what are the next steps in management of this child and how this program fit together can assist them in that management. If they do not have a primary care physician, then this becomes an opportunity for us to make a referral to one of these practices so that child gets housed. Because I think a lot of the long-term consequences of children with elevated BMIs and blood pressure issues is when they don't have that relationship with a medical home, and they don't have that physician who has a relationship with the family to address, to coach, to allow the child to see that this is something that's going to make them better. So that's important. It's called Fit Together because also the program at Duke University addresses certain activities that we can sponsor at school, including maybe an exercise or maybe a road race or maybe another activity, that students will learn that there are different things that they can do to control their weight and blood pressure that are positive, fun activities. And so that's the program in a nutshell. Now, I'm going to tell you something very secret. So I always apologize to my partner in crime, Christy, that we didn't start our program for school telehealth in Burlington. We started in Guilford. Screening starts in Burlington. And we will use our lessons that we learn here in this school system to spread this to our other sites in Rockingham and in Greensboro. So it's exciting that you guys are going to be one of the leaders. The other thing is the fact that you let us in the door has caused a problem for me. And that problem is I spent 3 hours in Wake County this week. They want school-based health. So we're excited about the partnerships we have with school systems and the fact that we're aligned in the idea that the purpose we're in the school for is to preserve the student in the classroom, to have their maximum amount of instructional time, and we know that healthy learners are better learners.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for your time, and we're excited about any questions that you might have for the panel.
Questions?
So this seems like a great program, and one question that comes to mind is completion rates for consent forms. I know that the free and reduced price lunch forms, it's always a push to try and get people to, if you can't get automatically certified. Any comments there as far as, you know, how that might impact the effectiveness? I'll let Dr. Davis.
So Christy can talk some of that. Our brand new school in Burlington is kicking.
Yeah, it's kind of our second school that we brought on board. Andrews is actually kind of it's approaching, it's doing better than Hillcrest right now in terms of consent forms. So only the students that are consented currently will receive the universal screener. So we will continue to do pushes to receive more consents. That's something that we do ongoing at both of our schools. And as we expand to 2 more next year, we'll do the same. So it's just a constant push that we're doing to get more consented. And oftentimes when a student comes to the nurse, if they're not consented, she sometimes will call the family and tell them about the program if the telehealth provider is not able to. Tell them about the program in order to kind of get the consent, since that's typically who our families have the best relationship with right now. If they're not familiar with the program, she kind of opens that door and explains it to them.
Great, thanks.
And to add on to that, we will have a marketing program for this, and everything we market in the school system goes to Christy, goes to the attorney, and all of those, that we make sure that it's clear, that parents don't feel like they have to sign a consent to be able to receive services, and is engaging our Alamance families to understand that this is a benefit given to them.
Thank you.
Ms. Harvey?
So I heard you speak about when you're doing the BMI and blood pressure, and you know, when things need to be directed to a doctor, either they have a primary, and if they don't, you know, you figure it out. So what happens when a child needs to have their information shared with their physician or their primary, and they don't have one, but then they also don't have insurance?
So that's a great question. So we have a program in school supported by some of our philanthropic funds, grantors, that if a child does not have insurance, and most of those children are not even eligible for insurance because they're newcomers, that they participate, they can sign a consent, and the parent is informed that they won't be charged. So that's a great question. And it's something, just don't talk too loud. Because my compliance people keep pushing me on it, but I say this is our community service. So, if you're gonna jail me, go ahead, jail me.
Any further questions? Mr. Wagner?
Yes,
sorry.
sorry about that. Thank you, folks. I think this is a wonderful program, like Dr. Parker said. And currently, we're going to roll this out to 2 schools, correct? That's what our plan is. So it's successful, and I see this being very successful. What is the idea of rolling this out district-wide? Because I can see other parents saying, okay, this is a wonderful program. The school system really cares about our kids. How can my kid get involved?
So, good news is that next year we will be in 4 schools. So we can roll out to those 4 over the year if we're successful, and that's what we want to. The following year, we're in 8 schools. And the following year, we hit 12 schools, which is all of your high poverty elementary schools. And whether they fully recognize it or not, they're on for the ride with us.
Well, great. Thank you very much. Good to hear that. Thanks.
Ms. Harvey?
Just a comment. Just want to say thank you. Thank you to Burlington Peds, Mebane Peds. They are amazing. And this is amazing for our community, for our students, and for our families. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks to my partners who came to me with this idea, and it made a lot of sense, and we're excited. This is one of the first what we call universal screening activities for health in the state of North Carolina in the pediatric population in school. And so we're going to set the bar pretty high for other systems.
Mr. Rogers?
So similar to the rest of the colleagues, thank you all for the presentation. Thank you for what you're doing as far as trying to promote things on healthy living, especially with our kids. Just one of these questions might be for Dr. Davis. It's around when you explained out BMI and blood pressure very well. How do you know, as far as at the school level, anything that we're doing, talking currently to our students through health classes or anything around BMI?
That's where it would be discussed, would be through our health classes. So I think this will be an additional layer where we'll be able to kind of educate them from the medical standpoint.
Okay. And then just touching in on the stigma piece. I do appreciate the fact talking about promoting it like it's a health fair and one no line students one at a time and everything. I guess I know you're saying that it's going to be reported to a pediatrician and everything, and then also I'm guessing this information goes to their parents too. And I guess what is the level of maybe conversation or education with the parents around that piece on what that information looks like on the child's BMI? Because also we do live in a society now that uses social media and everything to talk about people's appearance and what they look like. Sure. and different things. And so I'm just thinking, don't want to turn this into now a parent feeling like my child is, you know what I'm saying, all of these things. So
Yeah, I can start with that.
Sure.
I mean, I appreciate that question so much because people talk about not stigmatizing children. I also don't want to stigmatize their parents. And often when families come into clinic, the first thing I do is say, you didn't do anything wrong for coming here. You're not in trouble. And I look at their parent and I say, and you didn't do anything wrong for coming here. You're not in trouble, because everybody loves their kids and is like doing their absolute best. And it's a tough situation. We have a tough environment, I think, in general. So having said that, I mean, the studies on kids 10 and under really show that if you don't involve the parent, you're not actually making a difference. So we're going to have targeted materials towards the parents that we can provide, and the training of the pediatricians will teach them how to engage in a really sensitive, we use motivational interviewing, which is like a patient-centered way of communicating that helps them set their own goals according to their own values, cultural preferences, whatever it is, to make their lives as healthy as possible. But we really do view it as supporting the whole family and not making the parent feel like they're to blame for this, for sure.
And I think we've discussed that some of the activities that we'll try to schedule at the school will be family activities. Which is really, those are great questions.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You know, we live in a philosophical base of just culture. And just culture says that people aren't the problem. It is their understanding is the problem. Their knowledge base is the problem. And so providing them a knowledge base to be able to understand what they can do for their child positively rather than punish them negatively.
Mhm.
I also was an old school teacher. And Piaget taught us that negative reinforcement does not create habits. Only positive reinforcement creates habits.
Yep. So I appreciate that. That's good to hear because, like you said, talking on the negatives of it, but reinforcing the positives of it and the things too. Because I think y'all had addressed it, but I think Ms. Harvey had also just talked about the access for some parents too is also a thing that can be a roadblock or barrier to things that they can provide to their children. So thank y'all.
Yeah, correct.
Dr. Parker.
One more thing came to mind. I know at the level or scale of 2 schools that the level of paper isn't that high. I mean, how is, as far as reporting back to pediatricians, is it, you know, everybody uses Epic now. Is there like some kind of automated process, but, you know, once you're at all the high poverty schools, or kind of what does doing look like as far as reporting?
So currently, we communicate with our parents on every consent. There is what we call a guarantor account. That's all the information about the parent. That's also who they will allow to participate when they can't participate. And we ask if they have a relationship with the doctor and the doctor's name. So we get that information, it goes into a database so that we know how to share that information with them. Sometimes we use different methodologies to use. So if we can communicate doctor to doctor, if there's an issue, that often happens. Our providers will call the family doctor or the doctor and say, hey, this has occurred. So there'll be some of that. And in some cases, we put it in print, we fold it, we put it in an envelope, we seal it, and we send it home so the parent can get a hold of it and then see what we've said, and then a number to call back. One of the things that uniquely we have and why they chose to come to us is we already have a telepresenter in your school who communicates a lot with your parents on a regular basis. She calls every parent before we have a virtual visit, talks about the parent, reconfirms the consent, asks, are you able to participate in the visit? And if you can, I'm going to send you a link. If you can't because you're at work and your boss says no, you can't, then we're going to figure out a way that either I call you with the results or I send the results home so that you get those results. And that's really a critical part of our process. Great question. It's taken a lot of effort to iron that out, but it's a critical step.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Harvey.
And we do, you know, language is not a barrier, right? We do have interpretation because sometimes, you know, we have the children who understand English, but then the parents might not understand English. So I just want to make sure that that's something that's not going to, you know, keep someone from coming.
So we already print our consents in both Spanish and English. And we have access through our telemedicine with interpreter services in 27 languages.
Yeah, it's important.
Any further comments or questions? Dr. Hall.
I feel like I have to comment. As a professor of exercise science for 25 years, love to see this work, obviously. We know preventive medicine is really important, and as you documented, finding them earlier so they don't have those habits later in life is really important. So just wanted to say thank you for the work that you're doing.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Hall. And thank you guys for your time.
Any further?
Thank all of you, and we're excited about the program. As you can see,
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah,
Happy
appreciate
tax day.
it. Yeah, I know.
Next up, we have item E on the agenda. Mr. Messer, Assistant Superintendent of Finance, will be here to talk about Tyler Technologies.
He's bringing the presentation. Fine. All right. Good afternoon, board members, superintendent. First of all, is there such thing as a happy tax day? just wondering. Attached in the board agenda are two documents. One is the signed MOU with the Department of Public Instruction, which guarantees state funding if the board chooses to move forward with the contract that I'm going to present today. And the second piece is the contract with Tyler Technologies for our financial software conversion I did put together a little small presentation to kind of move through the minutia of the legalese of the actual contract, since it's such a lengthy document. So basically, it's the district pairing with the state of North Carolina to do a financial software conversion for the district. Those that were on the board back before the pandemic, you approved the contract with Tyler Technologies to move forward, but the funding fell through whenever the pandemic hit, and the state withdrew that money. Now there is some funding available, but not to the extent where it was before. So it's really a partnership if we choose to move forward. This journey began back in October. I put a team together that visited New Hanover County schools. They were the first district to convert to Tyler Technologies, their financial software. The trip was extremely beneficial. We had folks from technology and finance to go, and our human resources met virtually with them. So it was really eye-opening. We see the difference in the more modern financial package compared to what we're using today. So if this project is approved, it'll be about a 2 to 2.5 year project with a lot of moving variables, and sometimes the things are out of our control, and such as staff leaving, etc. So the anticipated total cost is about $1.1 million, just shy of 1.2. The state contribution is going to be $670, and ours is going to be around approximately $500,000. Next slide, please. Basically, the state is going to cover the majority of the implementation costs, which reduces our burden and focuses on sustainability and completion, and ensures our input is in part of the final outcome is what we're going to fund on our side. Next slide. If you want to break down what ABSS will be responsible for, will be the second year of the software subscription, contracting external folks to come in and help with the actual conversion itself, because there's a lot of additional work that's going to need to be done, plus maintaining our day-to-day operations. And one thing that we learned when we visited New Hanover County Schools was that one thing they forgot to do was to include additional pay stipends for their staff for the amount of additional work that they had to take on. I've known Ashley, who's the CFO of New Hanover County. She said she almost had a staff mutiny and everybody almost walked out on her. So I don't want that to happen here. What that looks like, I'm not sure. What the need is, I'm not sure, because that's one of the things that I'm proud of since I've been here, is I have put together a really competent staff, and they do a really good job. Put people in places where they succeed. Next slide. Just the benefits, we're going to leverage state funding. We're going to combine internal and external knowledge. We're also going to support a successful implementation and continuity, and hopefully it will reduce the risk of delays and project gaps. Next, financial impact. You can read there. What I want you to take away is that we're going to maximize state funding to the extent we possibly can. And it will ensure that we have success. And I tell you, the staff is really looking forward to it if we're able to move forward to something that we'll definitely be able to use in a modern way.
Thank you, Mr. Messer. Any questions?
Just a quick question financially. So those finances for the ABSS is already in our budget. Is that correct, or is it?
No, that's
Okay.
that's a great
Yeah.
question. So these are one-time costs. So when that time comes, I will come to the board to ask to appropriate either fund date or fund fund balance to pay for our part.
Okay, within the balance. Okay, great. Thank you.
That's the type of expense you want to use fund balance for, one-time expenditures.
Thank you.
And that'll be divided over 2 years.
Thank you. Any further questions? Dr. Parker?
So the joke about enterprise software is the people who buy it and the people who use it are different people, and that's one of the problems. So you've spoken to other CFOs who have gone through a similar process as far as this, and they're happy on the other side of it as far as this company for the.
Absolutely. We visited New Hanover County Schools, and they're extremely happy with the end product.
And so the company is going to help do the migration, and then at the end we'll have an ongoing subscription to the whatever the enterprise resource management system. I was trying to go through the contract. Is there a particular name for it, or is it like a
It's
custom?
Tyler Munis. It's kind of the same software that the county uses. Most
Okay.
counties use Tyler Munis. Yeah, so we have to pay for a yearly subscription for what we call Link, which is our current financial software package. And actually, the cost for this is per year is less than what we're paying Link currently for a more modern system.
Okay, great. And then I understand predictions, especially about the future, are difficult. But if this goes really well, is it less time will be spent, moving things from one form to another, or kind of what is the I don't know if you in a like the elevator pitch, a very short version of what this gets us that's much better.
So I'll just give you an example. One thing that our staff is excited about is that we have a lot of manual input on invoices. We'll be able to use the technology of AI to actually take a picture of the invoice, and it automatically loads all the information in our system to pay. So hand typing and keying stuff that's just one of the many differences. Mhm.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Mr.
Yes.
I just wanted to say too, one of the things that I do like is we've had this financial dashboard up for a while with Link. Reporting is somewhat limited. This will open us up to really put more information out there for the public and for our administrators and everyone as well. And so I think the fact that we're moving from it's almost like moving from Windows 3.1 to Windows 11, I guess. It's just decades more advanced than what we're using now. So I appreciate Tony for taking on this. A lot of finance officers out there do not want to take on this task because there's a lot of data conversion and training and all. And this is one more step to getting into the modern era.
Yeah, there are 3 other school districts that will be converting at the same time. 2 of them I know for sure is Jackson County and I'm drawing a blank. Newbern, wherever Newbern is. Craven County, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then as far as the rollout, when is the primary training for staff? Is it kind of all along the way as things are advancing, or is there a point where you say, okay, during this part of the summer or whatever it is? I'm just thinking, there are kind of punctuated times when things are very busy. I know you guys have to produce reports, and we're just kind of wondering what you're thinking.
Sure. I mean, so once, if the board decides to move forward, we will set up a meeting with Tyler, and we'll have our first face-to-face meeting. We already have a tentative deadline, but that's just tentative. I want to get through this year end and then probably meet with them sometime at the end of July. But the first part of the conversion is the financial and accounting side of it. And then once that is done and completed and we meet the state's benchmarks for those, then we will do the HR and the payroll side. So it'll be 2 separate conversions.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions? All right, board, this will be placed on the consent agenda for April 27th. And Mr. Messer, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have Dr. McWhorter, Assistant Superintendent of Academics. He's got a couple things he wants to share with us.
Dr. Fleming, members of the board, it's my pleasure to provide for you guys a contract for to go on the consent agenda for the next board meeting. So we have finished the review and adoption recommendation for our K-5 ELA curriculum, which we are very excited about. The curriculum went through a multi-stage vetting and approval process. We started with 4 of the top curriculums available. A district team, elementary curriculum team narrowed that choice of 4 curriculums down to 3. After we narrowed it down to 3, we formed a bigger team. That team was made up of principals, assistant principals, and also additional central office staff members and the original curriculum team that did the initial vetting. They then pared it down to 2. We then had those 2 presentations provided to principals, provided to our literacy leaders, provided to a representative from a teacher from every grade level at every elementary school, and then made those same 2 available for all teachers to review and leave feedback at the March 19th district-wide PD day that we had. And what I can say in things like this make my job pretty easy. Every single group identified the exact same curriculum for being the top choice, and not by a small margin. It was overwhelmingly in one camp. So again, that makes our decisions and ability or ease of moving forward much easier. So the curriculum for adoption is called Dragonfly. It is by Imagine Learning. The contract amount, this is over a 6-year period, is $2,649,746.01. And that will be paid. We'll be responsible for an initial $300,000 payment, followed by $700 at the turn of the next fiscal year, and then yearly installments after that. Now, we do have the ability, if our finances work out, that we can pay it off early. There is no interest on these payments, so that's also great news. And the company was, and you might not believe this, but we did quite a bit of negotiating, and this is on the lower end of what these curriculums cost. So we're very pleased. The curriculum is all inclusive. It has a foundational component, so it has a phonics component built into it, and also the comprehension reading component, obviously through all of K through 5. Foundational component is K2. 3-5 does not have that component, which is typical. So present that for your consideration for consent agenda. Any questions I can answer about the curriculum?
Any questions?
Dr. Moore, thank you for this. Just from a layman's terms, so our public that may be watching today, what is the benefit of entering into this contract for our school system?
Excellent question, and I should have started there. So important to note that one of the key responsibilities we have as central office is to, one, support our teachers and administrators, and also make sure that they have the materials that they need to provide great instruction to our kids. And so that 3rd grade looks the same in school A as it does in school B. And not that they aren't differentiating and providing their own unique touches on the instruction, as they all should be doing, but it ensures that every kid is having access to high quality materials. That's the key point. In line with that, if we want to put things in place to continue to drive improvement, we have to make sure that our teachers have the tools to do that. It'd be like building a house without a hammer, right? You can't do it. And so we want to make sure that they not only have a hammer, but they have the best hammer. And that our kids deserve the best, our teachers deserve the best, and we want to make sure that they have it.
Thanks for the clarification.
Dr. Hall.
Just following up on that same idea, how will this help with assessment across the district also?
So the ease of providing students with common assessments district-wide increases exponentially when you are building from the same resource. It's a near impossibility without a similar resource. The program also comes with assessments that are pre-built for North Carolina state standards that teachers will have access to, and it may not be something that they use verbatim throughout, but it will give them an excellent place to start. It will also greatly assist us with pacing and teachers with their pacing and how to kind of see their year as a whole when they start, which when you are especially, and this might not be something a 20-year teacher might say, like, oh, I already know that. But those beginning teachers coming in or our lateral entry teachers, this is going to be a massive leg up and support for them as well.
Any further questions?
Yes.
Dr. Parker.
So you said this will help, or it's compliant with the science of reading and the guidance that we're getting from the state from that standpoint, and it comes with assessments. Does it, for instance, does it plug into like an Achieve 3000? Do they have their own assessment tools, or kind of how does that work?
They have their own platform for that. It would, I'm not going to throw the names out of other platforms that you might not be familiar with, but it has its own digital learning platform. So everything that's accessible through hard text, they also have the digital version of also, which increases student accessibility at home as well. Their testing platform is there. Now, it doesn't mean that a teacher can't do some copying and pasting, put it into a different platform, or use those questions. That's something they give us the ability to do.
And does this include customization or a method for it to go into the data warehouse that we talked so much about, earlier in the year, or is that something that will come later?
We've already been having those conversations. That's all, again, tying into different agreements and such between those two companies, but something that we've already started having a conversation around.
Okay, great, thank you.
Right. Any further comments or questions? Well,
Mr. Chairman, if I can interrupt again.
yes, you may, sir.
I want to make sure the board understands kind of the power of your decision-making. One of the duties of the board is to adopt or to approve curriculum. And so I walked in this job a little over a year and a half ago, no elementary curriculum, several different types of supplemental material, but not necessarily any off-the-shelf curriculum, so that as you walk in school to school and grade level by grade level what's going on. So when you take this vote on the 25th, very important, you are setting the elementary curriculum for ABSS, and so, or elementary reading curriculum for ABSS. So I will tell you that Dr. Porter and I see Dr. Turner back there have done a lot of work, because I don't know that we've even put a date on when the last off-the-shelf elementary curriculum was.
I think it was around 2004.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I think that explains, I said I may have to eat my words in a few months, I don't think I'll have to, but of course this really is starting next year, but that's the reason why you have curriculum, and the reason why you have pacing guides and across the district, because we are a school system, and we must have a uniform system, and part of that is the curriculum. And so while we have that in math, we now have it in reading, and I think this is a really big deal for all of us, especially Dr. McWhorter. But I just wanted to say that by you are approving the first elementary curriculum in ABSS in 20 plus years, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
And the embarrassing thing is, I wish we would have done it before a year and a half after me being here, but we've got the right folks at the seat right now. We can do that. So. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have as kind of a future-looking thing, so we have the math curriculum in place. This is the ELA curriculum for elementary. Kind of looking forward maybe what would be next from your perspective as far as what's needed?
Well, I know that we've talked a lot in middle school.
Right. So what wasn't in place before was a map for looking at curriculums when they need to be renewed. All curriculums are run on contracts similar to this, so 4-year, 5-year, 6-year adoption, so on and so forth. So really taking a look at what we have, which isn't much, and making sure that when an adoption runs out, we're not looking at 3 other adoptions at the same time, because we can't afford that. And so what we're actually looking at next, interesting having me share things I haven't even shared out to principals yet. We're looking at biology. We're actually piloting a program right now, or essentially a curriculum right now at a couple of schools. That would probably then lead to a similar pilot in 5th grade and middle school for that as well. And again, part of this is going to be cost dependent as well. We also really want to, so our elementary math curriculum we have through next year. So we need to then also start next year as looking at math curriculums, whether it's going to be continuation of Reveal, which is what we currently use, or looking at other possibilities. Then hopefully extending that into middle school as well. And it would be great if we were able to adopt something similar for both, so it's just a nice continuation for both our teachers, principals. We can look at gaps between especially 5th and 6th grade and so on and so forth.
Guys, so it's not having anything run out at the same time, and a little bit of this is dependent on funding availability as far as what we
largely dependent on funding availability.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? That 2.6 million, that's for the entire 6-year
Yes,
period.
yes, sir.
Also.
No.
No further. This will be on our April 27th.
27th.
Yeah. On the consent agenda. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Well, you got one more.
I do have one more. So I have 2 field trips for your review, also for consent agenda at the 27th meeting. So our first is Southern Elements High School is requesting permission to take its student council to Mars Hill University to attend North Carolina Association of Student Council's annual summer workshop. This experience is designed to help students grow as leaders and in their leadership skills, confidence, and vision through hands-on activities, small group sessions, and team challenges. The approximate cost is about $385 per student, which the school will help supporting. The amount that they help support will depend on the number of students that they have signing up to go. In the second, AW Elementary is seeking permission to take its fifth graders to Washington, D.C. This is for next year. This is November 22nd, 2026 through the 24th. They will visit a plethora of sites such as Mount Vernon, Arlington National Cemetery, the White House, Ford's Theater, the Air and Space Museum, which is awesome if you've never been there, and tour various monuments and memorials. Cost per student will be approximately $300, and they have a number of fundraisers and school supports and donations and scholarships for any students that might need support.
Any questions or comments? All right, we thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
appreciate it. That also will be placed on our consent agenda on the 27th. Next, we have Dr. Davis again, Dr. Christy Davis. And board members, we need to vote on this one. It's because it's time sensitive.
Yes, so I'm bringing forth before you another addendum to our speech inspirations contract. Our current contract is for $350,000, and we are proposing to increase that by another $100,000. BlazerWorks and Speech Inspirations have been our two primary contracts that we've been using to obtain SLPs contractually, and BlazerWorks has not been able to provide us any additional ones. However, Speech Inspiration has been able to secure a few more. So as a result, we are using some of the funds that we had reserved for BlazerWorks and kind of shifting it over to Speech Inspirations.
All right, any questions?
Just shifting of funds, correct?
Dr. Parker?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry, wasn't sure if there was another follow-up. And so this is, this contract is because there's the shortage of SLPs in the district,
Correct.
essentially, so.
And this contract right now is providing 9 SLPs and 3 instructional facilitators for our virtual SLPs.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Yes, so-
This isn't specific just to the contract addendum, but really on how is the things working with the students and the services being provided through the, I guess, the virtual aspects and everything of that too. What are you hearing, I guess, from at the school and possibly parents?
Virtual is never ideal. Nobody wants the virtual option. Unfortunately, that's kind of what a lot of our companies are offering us. So again, our first priority will remain an actual in-person speech, because then you only have to pay for one person too. I mean, if you have a speech and language pathologist face-to-face, you don't have to pay for an aide to be with them. So, of course, we would like to avoid virtual SLPs completely, but unfortunately, we're not able to at this time.
Yeah, understandable, because I know multiple meetings we done talked about the struggles and everything, and I know, well, coming up on the agenda is
Yes,
a piece
Dr.
of
Arthur.
talking about that. So, but I just wanted to ask and just see how that is going.
all right, any further comments or questions?
Motion to approve the Speech Inspirations contract?
All right, we have a
Second.
motion on the floor. Here, a second.
Second.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Dr. Davis. And now we have Dr. Arfield, Executive Director of Sectional Children, coming up. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. This is timely from your question. So, board members, Dr. Fleming, thank you for your opportunity to speak today. So I'm here to share information on a long-term recruitment and retention plan for speech-language pathologists within our district. This has been a challenging year when it has come to be for staffing for our exceptional children's department, and it's highlighted the need for sustainable, positive options for us to kind of move forward with this. So our goal is to explore strategic ways to strengthen our recruitment and retention, and then ensure high quality instruction for all of our students. So today I'm going to kind of outline some of those plans that we have. I think I can drive this. Yep. All right, so our strategic focus for the recruitment and retention plan is to work on recruiting highly qualified speech language pathologists and also potentially speech language pathology assistants if we can get some of those, reduce our vacancy rates, and then ensure sustainable staffing for future needs that we have within the district. So our outline priorities are for competitive recruitment strategies, strong onboarding and mentoring, and I'll go through some of these in the next slides, manageable workloads, and then looking at professional growth opportunities for our SLPs, and then data-driven monitoring and improvement strategies moving forward. So we talk a lot about ABSS, but I wanted to kind of bring to you guys this higher level context when it comes to national and state level, and then for ABSS. So nationally, we have about 187,000 SLPs within our country, and 40% of those actually work in school systems. So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics has put a 10-year plan, or they look at the data and they see projecting at about a 15% growth rate in this field for SLPs. The average is around 3%, so we know that there's needs there, there's a boom in this area, but we're having a problem filling those needs nationally. If you look at our state level, the North Carolina Board of Examiners, which is the licensing board in North Carolina for SLPs, they have also called it a critical shortage here in North Carolina and have urged school systems to really look at different options, which we have done here in ABSS, for being able to manage these needs that we have within our districts. And then when we look at us at ABSS, we sit at about almost a 50% vacancy rate for SLPs. And to put that into context for everyone, in 2020, we had 1 vacancy. So in the last 5 or 6 years, we have significantly, and there's many, many reasons for that, that we can explore, but we sit right now at about a 50% vacancy rate. And the impact that we're seeing within our schools are around, larger therapy groups when we're providing services, reduced frequency in sessions, which I've had to come to you and talk about this school year, increased use in our virtual services, delays in our evaluations, and then implementations of IEPs. So there's a wide breadth of impacts that we have when we're not able to have the amount of SLPs that we need. So what are we going to do? So over the next 3 years, our strategic goals really look at reducing our SLP vacancy to below 25%. Ultimately, I would like to see that even lower than that. I would like to see us only have 1 vacancy if we can get there, right? Achieve an 85% or higher 3-year retention rate of our current SLPs. And then really looking at sustaining and having, establishing this university pipeline or partnership that we have, not just with universities, but also community colleges for that SLPA position. So some recruitment strategies. So based on budget considerations, we would really like to explore some competitive compensation and incentives for our SLPs. So in years past, I've been able to apply for some different competitive grants through DPI. We have been lucky enough to get some of those. We actually received some funding this year also that I'm going to be able to provide a stipend or a bonus to our SLPs for the extra work that they've done this year. Those funds are not coming out of the funds that we have. They are extra funds that I was able to apply for and receive. So that's always what we want to see, not using our current funds, but being able to use additional funds that we're able to get. So looking at potentials for signing bonuses or a higher supplement for SLPs, and maybe not just SLPs, but for other hard to fill positions within the Exceptional Children's Department. Retention bonuses at maybe 1 year or 3 years, kind of looking at those milestones so that we can keep people here and wanting them to stay here. We also have SLPs that have specialty niche areas, such as being a bilingual SLP, because we do have to assess students in their native language. And so maybe looking at some different stipends for that. And that's something else I can write additional competitive grants funds for if needed. And then when we have students that come in after their graduation year, you have to have a clinical fellowship mentor that is with you all year before you can get your license. So looking at providing a stipend for those SLPs that are willing to mentor our students coming in from first year SLPs. And then building a pipeline, a talent pipeline, is important to attract strong candidates. So after you complete your master's, you have to, like I said, you have to come in and do a clinical fellowship year before you can actually be fully licensed. So if we can advertise that we have great clinical fellowship mentors that we can assign to SLPs, that might be a point of people wanting to come to ABSS, that we're able to provide a strong mentorship program and CFY year for when after you graduate with your master's. Offering early hiring contracts for graduates upon contingent of them filling all the needs that they have. But when we go to like UNCG for their fairs, being able to potentially offer early hire contracts at that time to kind of lock them into wanting to come to us. And then having these recruitment partnerships with different universities. So we've had students from UNCG come in here to do their internships, not their clinical fellowship year, some have, but during their times of getting their master's, they have to get hours every single semester. So we've had UNCG students come in. We've had students from NCCU come in and do some of their internships during their master's program. We've had some from UNC. I have a strong connection with WCU. And so really kind of creating stronger relationships with our universities moving forward. And then kind of looking at growing our own pathway for speech language pathology assistance is very important. So there's currently 2 community college systems. It's Fayetteville Technical Community College and Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute that have SLPA programs. There have been many community colleges that partner with the Caldwell program so that students can stay at their community college that they're at, but then virtually attend all of the SLPA classes. I am not 100% sure if Alamance Community College does that, but that is definitely something that we could look at partnering with them to kind of help grow our own SLPAs here in our community, and maybe working with CTEC and things like that to kind of start that pipeline from ABSS to be an SLPA with us. And then staffing flexibility, right? So utilizing our SLPA assistants. We haven't had one. It's been many, many, many years since we've had an SLP assistant, but looking to hire additional SLPA assistants, continuing our virtual services, especially for those hard to staff schools. Yes, like Dr. Davis said, we do have to have an instructional assistant sitting there with them when they're having that teletherapy or that virtual therapy. Continuing with our short-term contracts for hire. We do have non-competes with some of our contracts, so that makes it hard for people want to be in a contract with us, and then they start working with us. They love our community, they love our students, they love the support they have, but then it's hard for them to come to us because we have a non-compete in place. So, but continuing with those contracts as needed. And then some retention strategies, not just looking at short-term, but looking at long-term strategies. So for first-year supports for not just new students, but just for new SLPs to ABSS, having a strong onboarding program and mentorship program, having good PLCs where our SLPs can get together and support one another, looking at caseloads. Manageable caseloads are a point of contingency for people to leave us, right? And so when our caseloads caseloads get larger, there's more paperwork, there's all these other things that come with that, and people can say, well, I can go here and do something different, right? So making sure that we can keep our caseloads manageable for our SLPs. Professional growth opportunities, and then employment recognition. We have a lot of amazing things happening here in ABSS, and we need to highlight those. And so making sure that not just for SLPs, but for all of our staff and our students in exceptionality areas and other areas, that we're recognizing what they're doing and the amazing things that they're putting in place for our students. And then looking at different career pathways for our SLPs. So I started many, many years ago as a graduate out of college at Hall River Elementary. That was the first school I was ever at as a speech-language pathologist. And ABSS invested in me and has helped me become the professional that I am today. And so I am a product of what this can look like if we put and we feed into our SLPs. So looking at lead SLP roles, looking at SLP leadership teams so that it's not just one person leading that group, but that there's strong SLPs that we have here within our district to help support that group and move that work forward. District leadership opportunities, and then working with our related service coordinators. And then ultimately, this process is about understanding where we've been, defining where we're going, and then along that way, tracking our progress and making sure that there's no changes that need to be made. So when we're committing to this continuous improvement, there's challenges that we have to examine, and we have to really look at those key metrics. And so the key metrics that we're going to really focus on is our vacancy rate, our time to fill positions. It's been a very long time since we've had an applicant for an SLP. So looking at really trying to get us out there, and that this is a wonderful place to work for people that want to come here and work with us. Retention rates at 1, 3, and 5 years to make sure that the people that we're getting are staying here, and we're making sure they want to stay here with us. Looking at that average caseload that we talked about earlier, and then truly getting feedback from them about what they need, what's going well and what's not going well, so that we can address those things as we go. So ultimately, in conclusion, our students are our reason, but our people are the way. And so we've got to be able to invest in our staff in order for us to get those outcomes that we want for our students. And I'm happy to take any questions that you guys have.
So this is really great. This has been a little bit of my hobby horse of mine over the past couple of years, and when I've asked questions, it seemed like, has anyone looked at the big picture, and they say, no, that's not in my department, as far as, but it looks great that, as far as a comprehensive plan to make things better. And I'll just kind of piggyback on something Dr. Davis said, that not only is virtual not optimal for the student, but it's more expensive for us as far as providing it and being able, to have our own employees, even if that means we have to have a special supplement or something like that. I'm very supportive of. So I think this looks like a great plan, and hopefully it's successful. My question here after all the preamble is, how much of the input did you have from the existing kind of long timers that we have here in the district for putting this together?
Yeah, we Dr. Thomas, or Mr. Thomas, who is the director, he kind of helps support speech and things like that. We have Stephanie Nance, who's our lead SLP. They meet regularly with the SLPs to get feedback. We talk with our lead and all of that. These are the things that we heard when we were doing all that work at the beginning of the school year to kind of figure out what we needed to do to be able to make equitable services within our district. These were a lot of the things that we heard from our SLPs.
Right. Well, this looks really great, and I'm very supportive of it. So thank you. I'll let other people ask questions.
So just like Dr. Parker said, great presentation, great plan going forward, because Dr. Davis came to us with the various contracts. I know earlier in the year, Dr. Armfield, you came to us with like the plan around making sure people are getting the services and everything. So it's good to see the plan out there and to know that y'all are working and trying to come up with methods and ways of recruiting people, but also keeping the people that we do have here, because that's also the big piece of keeping the folks who we have. I know in that you was talking about getting out to let people know that ABSS is a good place to work. So I guess my question is on what is your thoughts or y'all's plan that y'all talked about on getting out there to let folks know, come here to ABSS, we want you. It's a great place to be and to work with us.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we try to get out to fairs. A lot of times colleges aren't having them as much, but we go to UNCG. We just got back, Mr. Thomas and Miss Nance just got back from UNCG, I think last month. They went out there. Another good thing is that we go and like, I've talked to classes, right? So like to be present in these different spaces, such as talking to classes at different colleges or things like that, getting out, in front of them so that they know that we're here. We're exploring other ways that we can get in front of students that are graduating.
Thank you for that. And also, you talked about the Grow Your Own, and you named off, what was it, Fayetteville Tech and Caldwell. And I know you said right now, not 100% sure on what it looks like with ACC and things. Are y'all also just thinking about having that conversation in some way with ACC and maybe with C-Tech on, because I say that because we know this is a needed position. We know this is something needed, and a lot of times I think Ms. Drummond that came before us before and was saying, like, when they look at CTE stuff, and then other folks who talk to us about the C-Tech stuff, they're always talking about, like, we do look at what's out there in demands. SLPs are in demand. So I was just wondering if that's also another piece of conversation that y'all are looking to have.
Yeah, that's great. I do plan on reaching out to ACC. I know that Elon a few years ago had a conversation about adding the communication sciences and disorders program at Elon, but it fizzled out. And so that's something else that we can get back, knowing that this growth is here. Like, there's data that supports that SLPs are in need. So kind of partnering with our local organizations, Elon, ACC, would be exactly how we can get additional staff here, in these positions. So yes, that is in our plan to talk to ACC.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Armfield. Appreciate the plan. Appreciate what y'all are doing and how y'all continue to work through the roadblocks and the things, but continue to push and work hard. And Mr. Thomas back there, well, Dr. Thomas now.
Right. Yes, sir.
I would encourage maybe consider the conversation beginning with Elon, just as health sciences is growing and as we're expanding into Charlotte also. I think there's some interesting opportunities that could come out with that. I do have a question around, backtrack one, great work, support everything else that's being said here. A little bit concerning, you said you haven't seen an SLP application in a while. Like, what, do we know why? Is there other ways that we can advertise, or once again think about the pipelines through different universities and making sure that they're aware of these positions? I mean, I just try and think creatively, like what we can do to get at least applications so that they can come see what great things we're doing here.
Yes, that's a great point. So communication sciences disorders SLP license is a generalist license, right? So technically I could work from birth until death with and I can work in any type of setting with my license. And so being able to attract students to want to come to schools can be hard because there's multiple factors as to what they see when they come into schools, right? That shies them away to want to go to a hospital or a skilled nursing facility, a SNF or something like that, right? And so being able to get in front of them to let them know, and that's why we want to put these supports in place so that we can say, you come to ABSS, you'll get this support. You'll get these things to make you a better professional moving forward in your career.
And Dr. Hall, just looking at the number of applications, we've only had 7 for the 25-26 school year. So that just really further shows what Dr. Armfield is stating. The last application was January 2026. So we're just not seeing applicants for that position.
Mr. Wagner.
Dr. Armfield, thank you. I know it's a very tough position that you're in. What is the just ballpark vacancy rate across the state that you think?
I wouldn't want to
I
speculate.
mean, 48% sounds pretty high to me.
Yeah, I think that we are probably in one of the highest. If you look at our direct area, we probably have the highest. I
And
mean,
so
you
6
can
years,
go-
we had one opening 6 years ago, correct?
6 years ago, we had one open, correct. And I will say, we have higher caseloads
Sure.
right now.
Well, our demographics are changing.
Right,
Correct.
in our, you can go just a few miles down the road and make more money than you can here, right? And so you have more work, there's more demands.
I'll just make a comment to the board, county commissioners, community. We better get our backside on top of this. This is imperative for the future of our students in Alamance County. Our demographics are changing, that's a blessing, but also it's providing more casework for people we actually don't have on staff now. I just can't reiterate how important this is for us to stay on top of this, and thank you for the work you're doing. It's imperative to get ourselves in front of hospitals, in front of retirement communities, let them know this is a great place to work, it's a great place to live and to raise your families. I've said that 100 times, but this is scary information. It truly is. And so I encourage people in the public, county commissioners, board, let's stay on top of this, folks. It's important to provide these services to our kids because they are the future of Alamance County. Thank you.
And I would just add to what you just said, Mr. Wagner, that if you go back and look around us, these counties around us, you'll find that we're probably low in pay compared to, say, Guilford County and Orange County and Chatham probably. And, when you're competitive, when you're in a competitive race to fill very important positions, you can't be there. You've got to be competitive. And so we're not there right now. And I haven't checked it, but I guarantee you that's what you'll find out. And you probably know that already, Dr. Armfield. Thank you, Dr. Armfield. We appreciate it. Dr. Davis, welcome again.
Last time. So I have one grant. Alexander Wilson Elementary School, Hawfields Middle School, and the ABSS Student and Family Services Department received a $5,000 grant from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. This feminine hygiene products grant will support the purchase of feminine hygiene products to ensure students have access to personal care items.
Questions? Thank you.
Next, I have 4 gifts. It's a total of $40,000, 135. The New Leaf Society contributed $10,560 to support improvements at Turntime Middle School. These funds were used to enhance the school's campus through the addition of new sustainable shrubs and trees, helping create a more welcoming landscape for students and staff. Next, the United Way donated $7,500 to the ABSS School Nutrition Department to help pay off student lunch debt across the school district. All for Lunch donated $21,050 to the following schools to help eliminate student lunch debt. Highland Elementary received $550, E.M. Holt Elementary received $300, Southeast Alamance High School received $5,600, Southern Alamance Middle High School received $4,000, Southern Alamance Middle received $2,500, Western Alamance High School received $5,500, Western Alamance Middle received $2,600. And lastly, as the February mission of the month, Alexander Wilson Elementary School received $1,025 from the Phillips Chapel Church Incorporated. These funds will be used to support various student needs.
Thank
So
you,
again,
Doc.
that is a total of $40,000, 135.
That's a lot. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. It's great to always see the gifts and the grants that comes through. Just want to say thank you to those folks like United Way, All for Lunch. I think Safe Alamance has been a part of that also, helping out with that school lunch debt, because it has been a thing as a board that's done came up in conversation. It's a thing that I know a couple of folks who were involved in that reached out to me, just trying to understand how they can connect up to make them donations and what that can look like, and get an understanding around, I think we talked about it earlier, on what are more ways to get more folks to fill out those reduced lunch applications and things, because I think a lot of people just end up thinking about the stigmas around it and don't end up doing it, or don't or just don't, it's not in their radar to end up doing it, but it is something that I'm hoping that more and more folks do, so then we can help out with those students providing that lunch until we can hopefully get our state folks to help us to make sure that they get universal lunch. But I'm not going to jump into all of that. I've been asked that question a couple of different times, and I'll just keep talking about it. But I just want to say thank you to those folks who are doing
Absolutely.
that and continue to try to do those things around school lunch day.
Yes, Ms. Harvey.
So thank you to everyone who's donated, to gifts, to grants, all of those great things. The All for Lunch program, how do they decide what schools that they decide who they want to donate to?
From my understanding, and Emily Lynn, you may have more information, is that the school contacts them and they kind of set up a link that they can post on their website.
Okay.
That's the way it's been explained to me.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further? Most of these will be on our April 27th consent agenda, and we thank you, Dr. Davis.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, I do want to say, when you look at those numbers, and we don't have time today to peel through each of these schools, but you know, when you look at, I'll just use, I think, Southeast, Southeast is on here at 5,600. You know, that socioeconomic status wise, that's not the poorest part of the county, but you'll notice significant lunch that was paid off there. Well, that's not a CP, CIP school. So
CEP, sorry.
CEP, there we go.
CEP.
We also have a CIP, but yeah, CEP school. And so I think that may be why some of those numbers are showing higher, because obviously you would not be paying off lunch debt when all the meals are free. I think this kind of goes along with what Mr. Rogers is saying. If we could find a way to go CEP countywide, the reason why we can't is, or I think we would potentially be able to, but you have to have a high participation rate to break even.
Yeah.
And in some of these schools, and I don't know necessarily Southeast, but I'll use them for an example, if they don't have a certain number of students participating in the school lunch program, as a school district, we have to eat the cost.
Yeah.
And we're just not able to do that, because I know that's a lot of that is asked. Why can't we have universal lunch? Well, there is a mechanism in place to allow us to do that, but we have to eat any cost that's beyond that reimbursable rate. So, if the state would help us, or the federal government, whomever would help us, we might be able to get to a point where we're 100% free lunch through CEP countywide. We don't even have to worry about this. Yes, sir.
I would just like to also, as far as these donations go, I had this discussion with school nutrition that if we receive a donation for lunch debt and it's not enough to pay off the lunch debt, we're not really allowed to take it, because you can't discriminate about which debt you pay and which debt you do not pay. So unless we get enough funds to pay off the debt of that school, then we're not allowed to use that money to pay off any school debt whatsoever. Just want to make that clarity, unless the school district pitches in for the difference.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming and Mr. Messer. Any further? Thank you. All right, welcome, Mr. Hook. You got a lot of things to say today. We'll start. We'll start with item number 1 in operations. And you go ahead, sir.
Okay, I have 7 items to present
Yes.
To the board today that I request to be moved to the consent agenda at the next meeting. The first item is a new 3-year contract for athletic trainers. This is with Stewart Physical Therapy. That's the company that we're currently with, and this contract would be for 27 through 28-29, and you can see in the presentation the value of the contract for each year, so not to exceed amount.
Questions?
Yeah, they need it.
Go ahead.
The next item that I have is the MFM custodial contract renewal. This would be the last year as the contract was written. We were allowed to do a certain number of renewals. So this would be for the 26-27 school year. It begins July 1st. And the amount of the contract is the exact same as the current contract.
Perfect.
$735.90.
All right. Any questions?
So while I haven't heard complaints about athletic trainers, I have had some feedback about custodial services, and I didn't know what the district thinking is after this next renewal, kind of going forward. Bring more in-house, put it out for, as an RFP again, or what?
I can speak a little bit about that. So this is the 5th year of this contract.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the principal role when Dr. Thorpe put this out for RFP 6 years ago, five and a half years ago. And I remember looking through all of the pamphlets, brochures, materials that were submitted, and they virtually all looked the same, except for the price.
Mm-hmm.
This was the low bid in the end, and there were some bids that were up 10 million plus. So, but I've told you all in the past few years, I think we can work pretty well with MFM. They're very responsive to me. I think they have the same situation that we have with SLPs,
Mm-hmm.
or that we have with teachers. You can't find people.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. But when I call, they step up. And I think that mirrors the real world. We will not get perfect. But we've got a good price. If we were to put this out to bid, I think because we would have to go to the commissioners to ask for expansion money, because if you put it out to bid, it's going to be a lot more. If you didn't get expansion money, that would be at the expense of positions or supplements. So I think this is a good place to be. And I just heard recently in one of these meetings, I know you said you have complaints. I have complaints, but they respond when I call them. But just recently, one of the board members was at Williams for an event, and in the meeting they said the school was very clean.
Yeah.
If you have the right mix of people from MFM, you can do a very good job. So we struggle, with that, but they get us to the right place.
Got it. So I was, in my mind, if this was the end of the renewals, that we would have to put it out for bid on some level, but that's not the case.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The state doesn't require you to bid a service contract.
Okay.
If you look at our board policy, it says you don't necessarily have to bid it, but you need to be looking for good prices. But you want to look for good service too, because they end up being a partner with us, and that's why I always emphasize they're responsive to me. So we don't have to put it out for bid, and if a company was willing to hold the same price again next year, I would advocate to go with them again.
Got it. And board members here anecdata rather than being able to see things across the district, so that perspective is very much appreciated.
Okay. Dr. Fleming.
Yeah, I wanted to just expand on a little bit what Ms. Trick was saying, because like a lot of vendors, they want to come and meet with you. We've met with at least three I think, custodial contract vendors, and they all kind of look at the amount we're paying, and they'll say, well, we can do this, but it's going to cost $3 or $4 million more. And the idea is, one, that vendor or their management may potentially want more money, but they know to get the schools exactly where we want them to be, you have to pay people more. It doesn't matter if they're in-house or if they're contract. What I appreciate with MFM is the fact that they're very responsive to Mr. Hook. And when changes need to be made, they're willing to do that. But what we have to understand is if we have a belief that they may potentially continue at the current amount even beyond year 5, where other vendors are not as much, because they want to be able to say, we're going to have you 95, 98% staffed at any given point. But to do that, it's going to take pay. I think MFM would be 98% staffed if we were to pay them more. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. When you contract with someone, you're paying the salary plus kind of their management fee. If we go in-house with custodians, we have to pay them plus retirement and health benefit. So it's probably actually more to have them in-house. Now, when they are in-house, they work directly for the principal or for the operations department, custodial department, whomever it may be. But I will say MFM's done a good job with Mr. Hook. Sure, I get disappointed walking into schools, and Mr. Hook will be first to tell you that. I'll say, oh, I don't like this school. And what it comes down to is who's in there cleaning
That's
that
right.
building.
That's it.
And you do get sometimes what you pay for.
Yeah.
So to go to Dr. Parker's question, we are not required to bid because of service. We do have to find the best price. At this point, I think the best price is MFM because they're willing to continue the contract paying what we're currently paying. Where another vendor may say, well, for $2 million, $3 million more, we'll be able to staff you a little better. Well, sure, I think anyone would be able to. If we were paying Bucky's prices, I always say bring Bucky's. If we were paying Bucky's prices, we would have the cleanest schools in the state.
Yeah.
Or our contract folks would have but we cannot pay at that rate, or we can't today anyway. So as we move through this next year, Mr. Cook and I, we're going to talk to vendors. My conversation with the vendors, matter of fact, one I just had within the last few days is, before you come and meet with us, send us a quote. Because if you already know out the gate you're going to be $5 million more, we probably don't need to have, we don't need to waste anybody's time in my office sitting down having a conversation.
God, I appreciated that. That perspective is very helpful as far as you guys were evaluating different, different options. Thanks.
I will make another comment. So this is the third contract company we've been with, and they've all had the same, the same kind of situation. I think they all have the intention. We did price, try to come up with the dollar figure if we were to bring it back in-house, and it was going to be over $10 million. We'd have to buy all new equipment, but it would put us buying supplies and things as well. But then recruiting, and I think it would put us back in a similar situation that we have with bus drivers and child nutrition staff and SLPs, is they're not out there. And when the state did away with the lifetime health insurance benefit several years ago, that stopped the draw for people when they left something like textiles to come and work for the school system for 5 years. They don't come anymore.
And I do think where other school districts probably are able to get more bus drivers than us, it's because they're custodials in-house. Those bus drivers get overtime pay just like our TAs or cafeteria folks do now. If an MFM employee for some reason wants to drive a bus, I think we can figure out a way for them to do that, but they won't make overtime because it's a second employer rather than their main employer, which is MFM. And so that probably does hurt us not having them in-house, but the cost is astronomical.
As the finance guy, I think I need to chime in as well on this piece. There's one component that people don't think about when you think about bringing them back in, and that is the workers' comp piece. And I'm going to call a spade, that typically custodians are one of the first ones that will hit our workers' comp policy, and we already have the second worst mod in the state of North Carolina as it is, and we're trying to correct that. But bringing custodians in-house would even bring a greater risk to the district as far as funding goes.
God, thank you very much, and thanks for all the input.
That will be on the consent agenda at a April meeting. If you want to talk about number 3, the public services.
Yes, sir. The next item is the renewal of our contract with Republic Services. This is for our trash and recycling services, and the value of this contract is not to exceed $250,000. Like the last contract, this is the last year that we could renew on the RFP that was issued. But again, if they were to hold the price again, we want to consider that because prices for everything have gone up, and this was the lowest bid 5 years ago.
All right. Any further questions? All right, thank you.
The next item that I have is a renewal of our contract with Pace Analytical. This is a yearly contract for wastewater monitoring at schools with wastewater treatment facilities. That's where we have our own sewer systems, and monitoring of the drinking water where we have well water systems. The amount of this contract is not to exceed $225,000. This is the exact same value of the current contract.
Any questions, comments?
We just for my information, which schools do we have well and wastewater systems?
Put me on the spot. I'll go through
It's okay if
sewer services first.
Get to me later.
So we have a sand filter system at Sylvan and at Western High. If you go behind Western High, it's easy to see. It looks like a big sandbox with a fence around it. So we have that kind of system there. We have a sewer treatment plant at AO Elementary and at BEJ and at Western Middle School, and that's where we have our own sewer treatment plant. So if you drive on the road behind AO, you can see the fenced-in area. We've improved that fence situation, so you can't see the sewer treatment plant now, but that's what that is. And so we have something similar at BEJ next to the ball field, and at Sylvan across the street at the corner. You can see a fenced-in area there.
Got it, thanks. Good job having it in front of mine, so.
Then we
On the
have
spot.
several,
Things he has to remember.
well, I mean, we talk about them all the time in the office, but, and then we have several well water systems. PG and Sylvan have well water. BEJ has well water, and AO has well water. And I think there may be one more that I'm missing, but so they monitor that and provide whatever chemicals are necessary there as well.
Got it, thank you.
Any further? All right. Next.
The next item I have is an amendment to the Graham High School HVAC design build contract. Several months ago, I brought the initial pre-construction contract to you all, and we presented about the different construction methods. You all approved design build as the method. So this amendment is for $4,013,381. It brings the total value of the contract to $4,180,000, which is the guaranteed maximum price. So there won't be any changes. I will mention here, this is with Samet. Samet did our last design build project using bond money. In all of those, they came in under budget and money came back, or we just didn't use it. And then that was some of the funds that I went back to the county and requested they move to safety projects. So just because we have the guaranteed maximum price doesn't mean that we're going to use all that.
Questions, comments?
Great, so after this is on the consent agenda for the evening meeting later this month, then you go to the commissioners and they approve it, and or it's ready to go?
No, it's ready to go. The money has been approved, so you all approved the construction method, and then you all approved the initial pre-construction contract. So once you approve this at the night meeting, their intention is to complete this project. It says substantial completion in the contract by September 30th, but they think they'll have it all finished before the kids come back.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's great. Yep.
Thank you. Any further? All right, we'll move on to number 6, the lottery application for debt service payment.
This is something that we do yearly, and what we're doing is we're using lottery funds to pay our debt. This is related to the bonds that were issued years ago, but there was a memorandum of understanding between the Board of Ed and the Board of Commissioners that was adopted in June 18th, 2019, where we would use $1,459,068 every year from lottery to pay the debt on the bonds.
Thank you. Comments or questions? All right, so number 7, Burleson Recreation and Parks, using our activity bus.
This is something we do yearly. We're able to rent our buses to a nonprofit who is traveling to a nonprofit. So this is with Burleson Parks and Rec, and they use our buses during the summer. This year they want to use 6 buses to take students to Camp Greenleaves, and you can see the date range is from June 15th to August 14th. This doesn't affect our transportation department. These are white buses, and they're going to provide their own insurance, gas, oil, and drivers. and pay us $2.50 a mile.
All right. Comments or questions?
Guys, for the 250, the 250 per mile is the cost recovery as far as the it's essentially at cost to the school system as we're leasing them out, or is the
I'd call it wear and tear.
Yeah.
got it. So it covers so some depreciation and then also some maintenance. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Hook. All these will be on the 427 consent agenda. We
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. All right, I think Dr. Parker has something he'd like to read to us.
I make a motion we enter closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 to preserve attorney-client privilege. North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider confidential personnel information protected under North Carolina General Statute 115C-319 and 115C-321.
All right, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those no, it's unanimous. Aye, and we are in closed session. Thank you. Session. We welcome Miss Anderson, soon to be Dr. Anderson.
Yes.
And thank you.
Yes, good evening, Vice Chair, members of the board. I ask that you approve the personnel report as presented in closed session.
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those no. All right, unanimous. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. All right, members, do I hear a motion for anything?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. We are adjourned.